you know it's time. IAfootball is back, and we've got you covered with everything from the biggest hits to the biggest runs, from in-game highlights to post-game breakdown.
We are here talking any and all high school football.
From day one all the way to the dome, we've got you covered at IAfootball.
Welcome into the IA Sports Studio. It is a Wednesday, week 3 of the Iowa high school football season. Caden Nissen joined by Nick Fox, again in studio. And we're here for one thing and one thing only. Locks and dogs are coming your way. We appreciate you guys have enjoyed this series. The views have gone up every time. Again, it's a ton of fun. Nick and I are doing a little better job at keeping track this year, make it kind of a competition. We'll get to how we did last week soon. Some quick announcements before we get going. Again, Locks and Dogs today. The big thing today, positional rankings on Rockfin. They're not up yet. After we're done recording this, it is 10:39 right now. After we're done recording this and I get this up, boom, I'm going over. I'm formatting those. I'm getting them ready to go on Rockfin. It'll be early afternoon likely. You'll see a post up. Again, that's the number one way you can support us at IAfootball, and what we do is by going over there and subscribing. And today is a great day for that. I believe we have like top 10 at quarterback, running back, wide receiver. We got defense positions ranked out as well. Our rankers have done an incredible job, and that is for all 7 classes. So tons of names. We're going to have different versions of that coming in the next few weeks as guys get updated. We're working on more exclusive content right now. Again, trying to change the way you look at Iowa high school football here at IAfootball. Also this week, we're going to have another show coming out maybe tomorrow, Friday, depending, stock risers and 0-2 teams that are still hunting. As long as an interview with Sutton Kolar of Iowa City Liberty. I talked with him yesterday. He was a good conversation. Iowa City Liberty, obviously one of those stock risers and a team on the rise as well. Other things, make sure to hit that bell on our YouTube page. If you're not logged in, go make a free YouTube account, subscribe, hit the bell on our profile page. You can log in on your phone, and then it'll send you notifications every time we post. Like I say, every single time, I don't post these links right away. So those people that have that bell ring, that have the notifications ready, those people are the ones seeing it first. So I cannot tell you enough to go and do that. 100% free, no charge. I mean, it helps support us as well, but it helps you get the content before everyone else. Advertisement spots still open as well. If you want to grow your brand alongside us, you're more than welcome to reach out. Nick, though, we got to talk, man. Last week, I'll let you try. I'll let you go ahead and talk about how you think last week went.
Actually, I've got no comment for this. Listen, last week was abysmal. I was pretty confident in my picks last week, too. I felt more confident about last week than the week before.
I got the picks up on the screen. I had a great week. 7-0 on the locks, 4-3 on the dogs. Every time I go above 500 on dogs, you even had a good week on the dogs. It's just I just did a little better. It wasn't a bad week for you. I mean, yeah. I got 28 points, as you can see. We're giving our dogs. Each dog will be 2 points. Each lock is 1 point, as you can see on the screen. So Nick, I went 7-0, 4-3. Nick went 6-1, 3-4. I got 28 points in the season. Nick has 25. Definitely not out of it, though.
No,
one bad week for me,
all.
And you're right back in. So I'm not talking.
I'm coming back this week.
I'm not bragging. I'm not talking. And again, for everybody at home, I mean, you can drop a comment, drop your locks and dogs if you want to as well. Nick and I are keeping track, and we're only allowed to pick each team as a lock once and a dog once. So it's a little bit easier now, I'd say, that you can kind of pick whoever. But once we get on the road and we've already picked some of these top teams, like, we're gonna have to do a little more digging. So there's some strategy to it, and we just want to make sure we don't spam the same team over and over, even though Nick already did that once, but that's okay. But anyways, we're getting moving on. We'll start with Class 5A, Locks and Dogs, Week 3. Here we go. I'll start it off, Nick. I'm rolling with a lock in Hawkeyes Northwest. I got to see this team in person last week. I was really impressed. Obviously, they fell to Hawkeyes, but I think we know what Hawkeyes is. And Northwest, led by a sophomore quarterback, Mac Heitland, I was really impressed with Isaiah Oliver. He had two touchdowns last week. He looked really good. They got some threats on the outside. Jordan Green, another one. A youthful team at Hawkeyes Northwest. They've got Roosevelt on a Thursday at MediaChem Stadium. I might pop by and just spectate that game a little bit. But Hawkeyes Northwest, I'm going with my lock. I think they bounce back. I think that's a really good team in Class 5A. And my dog, I'm going with Kennedy. This is one of those 0-2 teams, sorry, that I'm not panicking on. Losses to Dowling Catholic and Pleasant Valley. Vinny Gianforte, he's completing 71% of his passes, but he's got 1 touchdown, 3 picks. I think this is the week that they get going. Jacob Doyle going to get going. Pierce McCrary is a top target for Vinny. Yeah, I think Kennedy's going to bounce back. I'm pretty sure they beat Linmar last year. I'm going to check that right now. And let's see if I remember correctly, they did. Yeah, they beat them 34-0. So I'm going to roll with Kennedy to take down Linmar again. And those are my 5A locks and dogs.
My lock for this week is Southeast Polk taking on Cedar Rapids Prairie.
Homer.
Listen, okay, I went to watch. All right. I went to go watch Southeast Polk last week. This Holden Hansen, Sam Zelenovich combo it looked really good when I was going to watch that game. A really tight game between the Rams and the Hawks. Southeast Polk ended up coming away. Quick shout out to Ankeny's kicker, man. He nailed a 53-yarder, I think. A bomb right before halftime. I'll be posting that clip soon. But, yeah, looking at Southeast Polk and Prairie, they're pretty comparable when it comes to the passing game in terms of their stats so far. But, I mean, Southeast Polk, they had that week 1 loss to what we know, a really good Valley team. So I think that they're going to come out with the win this week against Cedar Rapids Prairie. And a really big matchup in this one with Cedar Falls and Ankeny Centennial. I'm going with Cedar Falls, the Tigers, to pick up the upset. I'm really liking this guy, Devarian Clark, their running back. He's got 371 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground after just 2 games. They've beat Cedar Rapids Prairie. They've beat a really good Johnston team. So I'll be looking for Cedar Falls, man. They're looking really good to start the year. Definitely a rush-heavy team. No different with Ankeny Centennial as well. They've got over 500 team rushing yards for them. So give me the Tigers. I think it's going to be a great game, but I think they can pull out the upset this week there.
Yeah, the first really big game in their new stadium, too. I'm sure that place is going to be rocking. Nice. It's going to be a fun one. Hopefully the weather stays nice and cool for everybody across the state of Iowa this week, make the environments that much more fun. Let's move on to Class 4A. Moving with my lock, I'm going with Gilbert. 2-0 start, 2 good wins already. DCG, Carroll are the 2 wins for the Tigers. I'm rolling with Will Hawthorne and company. Like we talked about, this team's got a lot of returning starters. They've only thrown the ball 10 times in their first 2 games. That's because Will Hawthorne has 67 attempts on the ground. 473 yards, 8 touchdowns rushing. The defense has been pretty good. Will's leading them in tackles. And like I said, two pretty close games. Carroll was 36-18. That was a close game for most of that. DCG, obviously, a 35-28 comeback. They now have Mason City. I expect Gilbert to take care of business. I'm rolling with them as my lock. And my dog, a really good game in 3A. 3A, we've got a really good slate. I'm sorry, 4A, we have a really good slate. Xavier Western Dubuque is one of them. Pella and Indianola, the other one. And I'm rolling with Pella at home at Central College. I like Colin Kern at quarterback. He's a threat with his arm. He's also got 4 rushing touchdowns. Emmanuel Deers is proving himself as an elite running back in Class 4A as well. He's averaging 8.4 yards per carry. And Pella's getting back to their Pella ways. Off to a good start this year. Big test against a top 5 opponent at home. I'm going to roll with Pella to pull off the upset.
All right, so my lock this week, I'm going North Polk over Webster City. North Polk, they're looking really solid to start the year, just as we thought they were, starting the year 2-0. And they've got a really good running back, Nathan Feldman. He's got 420 yards to start the season off, 7 touchdowns on the ground. And he's also been airing it out for them. Not as much as he's been running, but nonetheless, still doing really good. Webster City, they look like the same Webster City team that we saw last year with Jackson Cherry. They replaced him with Jackson Griffith. He's had 235 yards on the ground so far for them. So Webster City, definitely no sleeper in this one. They're a really good, really solid team in Class 3A, so I don't think this will be an easy game for North Polk. But I'm really confident in North Polk. I think that there are always a competing team. So give me North Polk to win that one. And my dog for Class 4A, I've got this really tight-knit game back-to-back in the rankings. I believe it was 12 and 13 in that Class 4A rankings. Norwalk over Newton. Norwalk, they've got 400 team rushing yards. Eli Robbins has been really good, not only carrying the ball but also catching it. He's got 300 combined yards plus in rushing and receiving. James Hattelvig, sorry if I said your name wrong. He's been slinging the rock really well for the Warriors. And they took a tough loss last week to Indianola, but I still have faith in this Norwalk team. I think they can pull out a really nice win this week. Give me the Warriors as my dog.
And just some clarification, too, like Norwalk and Newton, that's 12-13 in the rankings. Probably not a huge dog. We're not trying to say, oh, this is a massive underdog. We're just simply using the rankings as our template. So Nick is doing the smart thing here, picking the team right below. So that's the thing with what we're doing here is we're going off of the numbers. So Norwalk Newton, really good game in Class 4A. That's another one on that slate that's going to be a ton of fun. Let's move on over to Class 3A, though. I'm going to use Clear Lake against Iowa Falls Alden. Clear Lake, a really good start to the year. They've been dismantling some opponents in some smaller classes, and they got Waverly Shell Rock next week. But this week, again, Iowa Falls Alden, Jackson McIntyre, sophomore quarterback for one of the better teams in Class 3A. You got Titan Schmidt, one of the best backs, and you got a receiving core that has Thomas Meyer. Obviously, he's the big name there. But 5 different guys have caught a touchdown for Clear Lake so far. So they've got some versatility there. The defenses look good as well. Cooper Cook leading this team in tackles. Clear Lake's look really good. I expect them to kind of maintain that sort of dominance this week before they really get a tough non-district opponent and then head into their district schedule. And we know how tough that district is. My dog, I am going with Benton over Mount Vernon. Now, this is an unranked Benton team, but they're 2-0. I think they're probably right on the edge of those rankings on the outside looking in, and with a good showing here, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see them in the rankings next week. They got Mount Vernon. Obviously, we know what Mount Vernon is. It's a stiff competition right now, but I like what the Bobcats are bringing. Carson Nolan, Brendan Hying kind of running 2 sort of quarterbacks, it looks like. But it's a team that runs the ball. 620 yards rushing on the ground for them. 3 guys with 150-plus yards. All 3 of those guys also have 2+ touchdowns. It's just a versatile team. They're going to run the ball. They're going to maintain the clock. The defense has played well. Again, both their wins over Vinton Shellsburg and over Marion, and both of them pretty handily. They put up 40+ in both those games. So kind of riding the hot hand here. This is a little bit more of not a reach, but a little bit more of a wild card pick. I kind of found Benton. I think they're kind of underrated right now, and I think they're going to have a good showing against Mount Vernon at home.
All right, my lock for this week, I'm riding the hot hand with Wahlert Catholic. They're taking on Clinton this week. They've got a really strong rushing attack after they beat a really good Western Dubuque team up in Class 4A. Yeah. They've got Michael Borman and Tom Scher. Not exactly splitting carries, but both carrying a heavy load and helping this Wahlert Catholic team succeed. They've got a combined 370 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. So that's been really key for the Golden Eagles' success early in the season. They shot up those 3A rankings this week. This has been a really good start to the season for them. I personally didn't see this coming, really. I didn't really have Wahlert on my radar early in the season, but they've definitely made it on there now. I really like this team. It's a fun team, and I'm excited to see what they can do the rest of this year after that Western Dubuque game. Give me Wahlert to take a win. My dog for this week, I've got Humboldt taking on a very, very good Van Meter Bulldogs team. Van Meter, they kind of kicked their teeth in last year, 52-14, but I think Humboldt can get some revenge this year. They've got Cohen Matson. He's been really solid throwing the rock for them. 445 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's also been their leading rusher so far. So the Wildcats, another one of those 3A teams that they're off to that 2-0 start. They're kind of rising up the ranks, and this would be huge for them. I think that they could get a good boost out of this one. But, like I mentioned, this is a good Van Meter team, so it's not going to be easy. Give me the Wildcats. I think that they've got a chance in this one. That would be a fun one to watch.
No doubt. Speaking of Van Meter, I'm going to take a team as my lock that just fell to Van Meter, and that's Des Moines Christian. In fact, both my 2A teams suffered losses last week, so I'm counting on some bounce backs. Starting with Des Moines Christian over Clark. I think we learned we thought Des Moines Christian maybe could compete. I think it was a good game, 24-0. That might not accurately represent. That's just kind of how Van Meter plays, Nick. You got a chance to see them. They kind of just slowly wear you down.
Yeah,
and they just don't give
absolutely.
you. They just don't give you anything offensively. So I think it was a good test for Des Moines Christian, and I think they proved themselves again as a top 10 team in the class. And they got Jed Each at quarterback, Davis Hawkeyes. I'm sorry if I might be pronouncing that wrong as well. Tyler Drefke, a top target for them, and the defense has played well. Ethan Bickle leading them in tackles with 15. I'm counting on Des Moines Christian to bounce back, and I'm going to go with them over Clark. And my dog, Meepo, Minneapolis. They got a really tough one in Regina Catholic and a team of class below them. This is a team that lost to Sigourney Keota last week, but they have a win over Columbus, and I think that's a big win. I think Columbus is a solid team. And Meepo, you're going to be relying on Reese Campbell and Noah Schmidgall. Schmidgall 3 touchdowns rushing so far, 283 yards on the ground. He's averaging over 6 yards per carry. So I'm going to roll with Meepo. This one's a little bit more of a wild card pick as well. But again, I'm just kind of going off a hunch here, and someone's telling me the Bulldogs are going to have a good showing this week.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at that Meepo team as well.
Tough one in 2A.
Yeah,
not 2A slate is a little
2A was tough to pick.
Not as big of a slate in 2A this week as compared to like 3A and A and company. But we'll see what you got.
Yeah, all right. My lock for this week in 2A, I'm taking Kemper Catholic. This is going to be a hard one. AHSTW is definitely not an easy team for me to pick against. But Kemper Catholic, they've looked pretty good. Apart from that first game of the season, they took a beating from Bishop Heelan. They looked really good against an Underwood team. You know, Underwood's one of those teams, they're 0-2, but they're still a really good team, I think, can still compete this year. And I think Kemper Catholic, I think that they can compete this team against this team, and I think that they could possibly win this one. Brock Batting, we've talked about him before. One of the better quarterbacks in Class 2A. He's got 350 yards through the air so far. This is one of those games I think it could come down to the wire. I think if both of these teams are playing at their best, which I know that they're going to try, but give me Kemper Catholic. I think they can pull off a good win this week. And I'm going to go with Sheraton for my dog this week. Sheraton, or wait, was that wrong?
There you go,
Sheraton. Sorry, I was reading the wrong class. Sheraton. How about Brock Oxenrider? He had 220 rushing yards last week and 3 touchdowns in their dominant win. So I'm going to ride the hot hand there. They're taking on Albia. I think they're newly ranked this week in the Class 2A rankings. I think if they can get Brock Oxenrider going, they've got that offense going last week. So I think they can keep it going this week against a pretty good Albia team. Give me Sheraton to pull off an upset this week.
Let's move on to Class 1A. I'm rolling with what I believe might be the hottest team in the entire state of Iowa. Emmitsburg has gotten off to an incredible start. Win over Central Lyon George Little Rock is going to do waves for them down the stretch. Estville Lincoln Central, they dismantled 34-0. I don't think that's a bad team in Class 2A. Emmitsburg is just slow and steady. You look at the numbers, it's nothing crazy. 400 yards rushing, 137 yards passing. But they haven't thrown an interception. It's a team that doesn't turn it over a bunch, and they turn you over a ton. 5 fumble recoveries so far, 2 interceptions. That's just through 2 weeks of play for them. Justin Words, 5 tackles for loss already. This defense is suffocating, and it's. I think this is a dome contender and a title contender in Class 1A. Just 2 weeks in, I'm liking Emmitsburg. I'm burning them this week as my lock. I think they've got a favorable matchup. And my dog, I'm going to go with Albert Nets. They got Beckman Catholic, who's another newly ranked team. And the name here is Lake and Caves. Monster week last week. He was really on the edge of being a Player of the Week finalist. I really was close to having him in there. Lake and Caves, as a sophomore, 422 yards rushing. He's averaging over 8.5 yards per carry, 6 rushing touchdowns. It's a team that's not going to air it out a ton. Just looks like 10 completed passes on the year. It's a team that's going to run the football against Beckman Catholic, again, a new team in the rankings. This team's got 10 sacks total. They've got 19 tackles for loss, 3 turnovers already. So I'm going to roll with Alburnett. I think this is a sneaky team, and, give me the Pirates.
My lock for this week, and like you said, Class 1A is just loaded this week with good games. I'm going Grundy Center for my lock this week. Top team in the class. Judd Jurovsky, he's picking up for this Grundy Center team. He's got a really good start to the year. 470 passing yards for him and 5 touchdowns through the air. Grundy Center, we always know them to be a really solid team, a really good team in this class, especially in the last couple years. And I think that they're going to continue this success. They're taking on Pella Christian this week. I think Grundy Center's got this one as long as they can keep doing what they're doing. And so give me Grundy Center. I think that they can pull off the wins this week. And a really, really big game that we've got, West Line and OABCIG. I'm taking OABCIG as my dog this week. West Line, we've talked about them. They're definitely one of the top dogs, if not the top dog in the class. Bryson Kohler has had a phenomenal start, a superstar start for OABCIG. He's got 630 passing yards already through just the first 2 games of the season, and 6 touchdowns for him. So, you got a guy like that taking it on for the Falcons. OABCIG, I think they can pull off the upset this week. These are both really good teams. So I think it'll be a really good game. I think this could be the place to be in terms of Class 1A. So give me OABCIG for the win in that one.
Yeah, I'm really thinking about making the trip to that one. It's going to be a ton of fun. Bryson Kohler. A lot of weapons there. Top 3 team in 1A against a top 3 team in 2A. You don't get that every day. And West Line, again, they're a title contender in 2A, so that one should be fun. Let's move on to Class A, where, 5A always has a lot of ranked versus ranked matchups, but Class A this week might have the best slate of every single class. There is a ton of ranked versus ranked matchups. I'll start with my lock, though. I'm going to roll with ACGC. Looked good last week against Earlham. Gave up like 2 kick returns in that game and still ended up winning. Lost the turnover battle, like something crazy. I firmly believe ACGC might be the best Class A team to the eye standard at this point. I know they weren't number 1 in some other polls. I think they're number 1 right now, clearly in Class A. Jathan South is a big reason why. 148 yards passing. He's got 282 yards rushing. 2 other guys on that team have over 175 yards rushing, Nick Fuller and Joe Crawford. A lot of weapons here for ACGC. And they just play really good football. I'm going to roll with ACGC, the top team. I'm going to burn them as a lock. And my dog, Nick and I, going against each other. We didn't even plan this. We just wrote our picks down. I'm rolling with St. Ansgar as my dog. Nick's rolling with Hancock as his lock. So someone's going to win, someone's going to lose in this one. And I like my pick in St. Ansgar. A little bit down there in the rankings, but Jay Schweissau's back. Corbin Michaels, a running back, 221 yards rushing. Tyson Klein also has 127. It's the game that's proved to be competitive in the past. I'm going to pull up what the matchups have looked like over the years. St. Ansgar won last year, or West Hancock won the last 2 years. Really back and forth. These teams have played every year since 2021. I expect another game, and I'm going to roll with the Saints as a little underdog pick here.
Yeah, like you said, I'm gonna go head to head with you.
Going against me, got to get your points back.
I know. I'm going big here. I'm gonna take West Hancock. Brady Bixel's the guy to talk about when you're talking about West Hancock. Yep. A really solid running back. He's got 256 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. But he's not the only one. West Hancock, they're a run-heavy team. They got a junior, Gustavo Gomez. He's got 162 yards and a touchdown. And they've even got a sophomore, Jacoby Subject, 144 yards and a touchdown. So really solid running game there for the Eagles. And, Cade said it really well. This will be a really good game. I like the pick in West Hancock, but I guess, like you said, we're going to see one of us I'm really hoping because I've got a lock, so I've got a lot more on the line. But yeah, give me Wes Hancock, and this is a pretty big dog that I've picked here. I've got the Columbus Wildcats to beat the Lisbon Lions. Lisbon's a really good team, so this will be a really tough match for the Wildcats. But I do have faith. I've got faith in this Riley Kalberg from Columbus. He's got 366 rushing yards. And, like I've mentioned this many times before, guys like that, they can make all the difference in these really big games. So Columbus, I think this could be a pretty good match. Lisbon, like I mentioned, really good team. They have been. They were really good last year. Really good this year too. So it'll be tough, but I think this would be a really great win for the Wildcats. So give me Columbus to pull off a big upset.
It's one of the more underrated rivalries in the entire state of Iowa. Those two teams do not really enjoy each other. And Lisbon, they haven't lost a regular season game in a long time. Didn't lose one last year. Haven't lost one yet. They've got a double-digit regular season game winning streak. But I like the pick. Columbus, a good team. They love to run the football. We'll move on to Class 8 man, though, for our locks and dogs. You can see we both took Bedford over Lennox as a dog. 8-man slate, nothing really crazy this week. So we both went with kind of the game of the week. Give us a chance to talk about Bedford and Lennox. We're both going to go with the number 4 ranked team over the number 3 ranked team. If Lennox was number 4 and Bedford was number 3, it'd be the other way around. We're just playing the numbers at this point. So we're both going to go with Bedford just because of the slate in 8-man this week. Hopefully it doesn't turn out like that every week, but it does this week. So we'll talk about our locks. We'll each talk about our locks, and we'll both talk about Bedford and Lennox. But I'm going to go with Key High as my lock. 8-man stats always crazy, but Dalton Mutterman off to an incredible start. 522 yards passing. He's only completed 27 passes. 12 of them have gone for touchdowns. That's a pretty crazy rate if he can keep that up. Key Highs look good. They got Waterloo Christian this week. This team's forced 6 turnovers already in their first few weeks. In Key High, in the top 10 in some polls, not quite in the top 10 in our poll, but very well could be on their way with guys like Dalton Mutterman, Ivory Metal. I'm sorry, I wasn't saying that right. The freshman running back. He's got 160 yards rushing, and Carter Seats is the guy, the top target, 255 yards receiving. Nick, I'll have you talk about your lock, and then we'll both talk about Bedford Lennox.
All right, yeah, I picked against Waco last week. I'm going with them this week.
Got to earn their trust back.
Right. I've got Waco taking on and winning over Winfield Mount Union. Winfield Mount Union, they beat Waco last year 34-8, so a chance at revenge. The Warriors, definitely a pass-heavy team. Clayton Miller, 700 yards on the season for him, 13 touchdowns through the air. Like we always mention every week, these 8-man stats are just crazy. These quarterbacks just put up video game numbers, and this is another guy who just, he's got those video game numbers. And Winfield Mount Union, they started the year 2-0, despite losing one of the best players in the state from their last season. But I've really liked the Warriors. It was hard for me to pick against them last week with Iowa Valley. But give me Waco to pull off a win this week. I've got confidence that they can pull off one this week.
Yeah, Bedford Lennox, the game to watch at 8-man, big rivalry too. Lennox had won 5 in a row, and then Bedford last year beat them twice in 1 year. Obviously, Bedford was on their way to the 8-man state title, where they fell in the runner-up, but they've got some guys back from last year's team. Garrison Watzinger, the guy that sticks out to me, 300 yards rushing, 7 rushing touchdowns. Nick, 8-man, you got Bedford pulled up. They don't throw the football.
They do not throw the football. That was the first thing I noticed. 3 pass attempts to start the year here and 1 completion.
For 10 yards and a touchdown.
Right, yeah, of course it was.
8-man.
Of course it was. And they've got 100 guys that have gotten rushing attempts this year. I'm not going to count all of those, but they've got plenty of people. They're spreading the love, except for Garrison Motzinger, who you just mentioned. He's got 300 yards so far. But, yeah, this is going to be definitely a rush-heavy attack from Bedford if we've seen anything so far.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and Lennox, too, you got Gabe Funk. It's set up to be a really good game. We can see it going either way. We got Bedford because of the lower rated team. They won
Right.
2 in a row. But hey, Bedford's there. They're averaging 8.9 yards per carry. Hey, they're averaging more yards passing per attempt than they are rushing per attempt. Maybe they need to pass it more. No, I'm kidding. But no, they haven't been challenged yet. Moravia 58-0. Murray 60-0. This is definitely going to be more of a challenge for them. Going to be a fun one at Lennox. We're going to have our eyes on it as we will across the entire slate of Iowa. Go ahead, drop us a follow, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it may be. Friday nights, we've got you covered with some scores, and we'll have our infamous Saturday scoreboard posted as soon as we can get all those games in. Keep your eye out on Rockfin positional rankings dropping today. Again, would really appreciate any subscriptions we can get. We got free content, premium content over there, tons of good stuff. Any questions about that? Don't feel afraid to reach out. And yeah, we'll probably have another show that I'll probably be recording tomorrow or Friday for you guys to check out. I'll be talking about some 0-2 teams and some stock risers, as well as an interview with Sutton Kohler. So appreciate you for joining in. Nick, best of luck this week. Hopefully I don't pull away too quickly. Yeah, hopefully I don't pull away too quickly. This doesn't get ugly, but no, I'm kidding. We'll see you next week, guys. Appreciate you for tuning in.